Then.
Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
Would you mind just telling us your first name?
My name is Rachel.
What were your dreams as a kid?
I can't even think of what dreams I had as a kid. Everything was so fast moving that it was everything in the moment. So futuristically, imagining anything wasn't in my day-to-day or childhood.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about your childhood?
Sure. Broken home. My mom was young, 19 when she had me. And don't know who my father biologically is, but a man that did come into our lives when I was almost 2. Her and him, they were poison for each other. They got in a lot of trouble and they just kind of tagged along with them. And I saw a lot of things at a young age that I probably shouldn't have, that most young kids shouldn't, or even be subjected or desensitized to. But for the most part, I was always taken care of, everything. I have so many different family that I call family, because there's been people that have taken care of me that I consider family, though they're not my blood. Because, like I said, my mom and my dad, they ran kind of amok, and he did prison time. My mom was here and there. She'd leave him with his family member or with a friend, come back for me. Then my brother was born. So things got really weird. I think I picked up a little bit of sibling envy because he was very focused on, and it was time for stability at that point. 6 years, you guys have been going crazy. Let's stable down. So they tried, but my mom's never given up. She's done the best she always could, even though she wasn't always there for me.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about your relationship with your dad and how that relationship felt for you?
That relationship, that was, even my mom will tell it, that she says, and his name was Eric, he's actually passed now, but she says that, I was there just for, entertainment purposes. He really loved Rachel, He came into our lives when I was about almost 2 years old, and he just claimed me. Like, this, I'm keeping you as a woman, and I'm keeping this girl as my child. And they really did try, but, being young, and that time, I guess the era of the 80s, early 80s, was still coming out of the 70s and having fun and getting high and drinking. But my relationship with my dad, I loved him. I loved him so much. It was amazing that somebody that I now, in my life, as the person that I am, would not ever affiliate with someone like that, because I had such a romanticized vision of who my dad was because of the way he treated me. For what I saw. It wasn't face value, it was true, but he was addicted to crack cocaine. And unfortunately, the actions and the problems that he brought onto the family, and it was rough, and it ultimately got him murdered. So, and I was young, I was real young, I was 11 when that happened. But so it was like devastating. I felt that at that point that I didn't have anyone to protect me anymore. That's what I felt like. There was a lot going on. Now or then?
Then and now.
Then, deep depression. At the time, my mom and my dad were not together. It was, my mom finally, she's like, I can't do it. I gotta get sober, gotta take care of the kids, gotta do, the right, responsible mother thing. And we came here to Colorado, and then my grandparents had come, I want to say it was 93, so I was about 11 years old. I knew it. I knew. My grandma said, I need to talk to you. I said, about what? She says, your dad. I said, is he here in Colorado? She says, no. My next question was, is he still alive? I just had a feeling. And they told me no. They lied to me about how he passed, because they didn't really feel that telling an 11-year-old your father was murdered during a drug deal was very, etiquette at the time. So I felt and held a lot of resentment towards my family for that. But as the years went by, I got over it, because I understood that, I wouldn't have told an 11-year-old that either. Like, that's not something, yeah, you know, even though I knew what he was doing, it wasn't hidden. So, yeah, it was devastating. But now, as an adult, it's, I've endured so much loss, and I think that was the beginning of what I knew what loss was, and that was the worst. Everything since then hasn't added up or even met that feeling until my grandma just passed a month ago of COVID. So that kicked the waterworks in. So yeah, it hurts. It really does, that loss. It flares up that feeling of that loss again. So, but yeah, obviously I'm doing well with it because I'm able to talk about it. You know, I'm able to identify the emotions now, opposed to being mad at why. Why is this happening?
Do you still ask why?
Every day I ask why. Why in the hell am I still here? All the shit that I've been through. Why am I still here? What's going on? What's my purpose? You know, and I feel like there's a higher power that needs me here, because the things that I've been through, I guess, to why I'm here even today is to say, like, you're not alone. You can make it through this. I fight that every day. I get up every day and I'm just like, we're going to do another day. We got another day to conquer. What can we do? But when things go awry, yeah, of course, why? Where did I go wrong? I've been doing everything just right. Why? But you can't really, sometimes you can't ask why. You have to just accept it. There's no answer to it.
Can you tell us about your relationship with your mom and how that relationship felt for you?
As long as I can remember, my mom and I, our relationship has been tumultuous. She didn't have the best upbringing with her mother. There was this competitive nature with her mom that she has as well. And I think my mom is doing a lot more growing in her age at almost 60 years old now. But I feel that when I was younger, I surpassed the maturity level that my mom was at. And it was hard for her to accept that. And I know I was a shit. I did a lot of things that I don't regret, because they were for attention. They were, legitimately. And some of it wasn't, really. But I felt like my mom just abandoned me. It was easier to just kind of leave me here, leave me there. So I did, in turn, developed abandonment issues and have a lot of the nature to push people away, or to just not tolerate or even deal with, and I'll be alone. But my mom and I now, I talk to my mother every single day. She gets on my damn nerves, but I talk to her every single day, every day, no matter what. You know, every day on my way to work, 3-4 times in the afternoon and evening. There's going to be a day she's not going to be there to do so, and it doesn't matter. I know she tried so hard in life. Everything that's happened in the past, like, I don't live there anymore, neither does she. So unless she starts, and she will, bring up and dredge up things, because she feels regret for what she's done. It's unsettling. So I try not to have those conversations with her.
How's those abandonment issues?
Well, I am 39 years old, single, never been married, and I've never had children. That is a choice that I've never wanted children due to my lack of structure growing up. You know, I've just been very happy with only being responsible for myself and only what's right at the front door, nothing on the outside, you know. I still, you know, my relationships as like platonically, I have great friendships, I have great relationships. People confide in me often for advice, or I'll see someone and it's Rachel, hi, you know, they light up. And I think that when we were at, you know, speaking about the whole why and that dark place of, you know, rock bottom and those thoughts, it's like, that is what I start identifying now when I feel sad. I'm like, wait a minute, there's people that count on me. I want to be here, but I don't want to abandon them the way I felt abandoned. So that stops those dark, I call it my dark passenger thoughts.
How do you not abandon yourself?
I don't necessarily abandon myself. I take very good care of myself in terms of that, mentally, emotionally. Like I said, throughout the years and the upbringing, there's so much to the story and the gap of from when my father was murdered until now. And it's never going to end in life. Things will always happen. But I have more control of myself and knowing and identifying situations. And I use that a lot, like identifying, because when I used to get really offended, really upset, took a lot of things personally. And I overheard somebody say one day, years ago, before it became a meme, it wasn't even MySpace yet. And they were like, no one has ever been offended by a statement that does not apply to them. And that resonated deep. That was very resonating for me. So I started thinking about it, like, someone calls me a bitch or says you're fat or says you're ugly or you're not capable, I used to actually think that. Oh, really? Yeah, you're probably right. No. And even though I didn't have that exterior, people always have seen me courageous and ambitious. But when the door closes, it's like, dang, they might be right. I start questioning myself. But I don't anymore, because those comments I don't take personally. So I feel that I've overcome those. And I haven't abandoned myself in any situation, because I actually go through it, opposed to I would used to not address it.
What's the biggest thing you learned from your parents, good or bad?
It's hard being a parent, no matter what. It's hard, excuse me, it's hard actually just taking responsibility for another life in general. Like, growing up, like I said, I never wanted children. So growing up, when my friends said they wanted kids, they said, get a puppy. Get a puppy first, pardon me. Get a puppy, you don't want a kid. It's a lot. It's a lot to take care of. And it's not the good things. I mean, I guess the examples that they set, even though they didn't know they were setting examples. I was not into drug use. As a teenager, I didn't really do drugs. I smoked pot here and there. I learned early on that I don't do the best with alcohol. I could get either extremely violent or extremely extra. Like, let's take off our clothes and go skinny dipping extra, and not remember a bit of it. So I learned young not to mess around with drugs and alcohol. I dabbled, of course, and I learned lessons, and I've had hangovers. But bad just... Yeah, I think a lot of that really revolves, the examples, good and bad, in that statement is the good, that I wasn't an addict or had an addictive personality like my mom and my dad do. And I don't know, they just always, I couldn't tell you. I'm stumped on that one. That's definitely I'm going to have to take some time to think about, because their examples were shit. Yeah, exactly. But they came out, I came out okay, but so.
Could you tell us about your first love and how that felt? So it's whatever you associate as your first love. It can be a person, it can be a hobby, it can be a sport, it can be just whatever comes to mind.
Oh, you know what? Yes. And I was thought about that, and I was gonna say, yeah, it was definitely my dad. But the first experience that I had where I knew I absolutely loved something, I loved it. And contrary to what my family may believe, because of the way I acted, I wanted a baby sister. Okay, I really did. And when that baby boy came out, I was like, no, you go back and get my sister. It was when he started sleeping in my room in the crib, and I was laying there, and of course the lights are out. We didn't have TVs in our room as children, and I could hear him breathing, and I started to mimic my breathing with his, And then that's what I knew, like my brother, I knew I'd always love him. We'd always have a bond, you know, like that's when I knew I would ultimately did love something. My mom said I had like a gizmo doll or something that I wouldn't go anywhere with. Maybe it was prior to that, but to my awareness, that was it. And even though we fought and we had, you know, we picked on each other. It's brother and sister. We got into trouble. That kid, I love him to death. We're really close. We're really close now. He's an amazing guy. Real solid.
What about your first loss or heartbreak? And it's the same thing. It's whatever you associate as your first loss.
Yeah, that was what, yeah, with my father, with my dad. Because that opened up such a huge can of worms. It was rough. Being 11 years old, finding out that your dad died, and then not only finding out that they lied to you about it, that he was murdered, and then the fact that he wasn't even your real father. Up until then, I always knew him as nothing other than my father, my dad. That was daddy, no matter what, you know? And so I think that was it. That was the first heartbreak. That was the first loss. It was like, what?
How did that affect you then, now? How was that process for you? There's so much there, right?
There's a lot there. It was a rough process. As an 11, almost 12 years old, I think I just started acting out. And I wasn't aware of a lot of it because I think, honestly, I think it might have been like a post-traumatic stress dissociative behavior, because not only did that happen at that time, I was also being sexually abused by who my mom was married to. And he was very extremely abusive to her. And we were in that household. And finding out that my father was murdered is the reason I made the comment. I felt that I have no one else to protect me. Because my mom sure as shit wasn't doing it. We were right under the same roof and it was happening. Unfortunately, she didn't know until years later, because as a child, when a grown man tells you that you say anything, I'll kill you and your brother, and you'll be held responsible for it. So why say anything? And it didn't come out until a couple years later, especially because I wanted to make sure that we weren't going back to him. Every time we left, we went right back to him. She drug us right back with him, like 4 times. So it was difficult. So yeah, the depression from that, and then my father, the loss, it was basically the loss of my innocence in life, and it was ripped away from me. And then I was told that you don't have a positive male figure in your life anymore, at that point, you know, like. So it was a lot of loss. The process was difficult. I don't think, honestly, I didn't process it until years later, till I was 100% completely honest in therapy. I went in 2015. I got a DUI. And I went 3 years sobriety for that. After that, I did. I do drink now, but I know my limits. I told you alcohol and I are poison. I'll have a glass of wine. I'll have a couple drinks. That's it. I do know I have to. That I have an alter ego named Raquel, and she's crazy. She's nuts, man. And a lot of people with that shit I've been told about her, I'm like, really? Oh my God, I can't believe she did that. That was you. Nah, that wasn't me. That was the vessel, but that was not my character. But in that sobriety, I went into therapy, and I just opened up. I said, look, you know, this is what happened. This is what I held back. This is what I never told anybody. And that I got a proper help of working through all of that, and actually finally being able to process these things that I kind of just threw into a plastic bag and stuck in the corner. Now the trash has been taken out, and it feels liberating. It feels good to release that, you know. And
That's
that was difficult to process.
You know, the story right before you, you know, a convicted rapist.
Mm-hmm.
And the reconciliation between loving somebody who did horrible things and you know, it was a tearjerker.
Yeah.
We were in here crying
I bet.
just before you came in.
I'm sure.
And I just told him, I was like, that wasn't you. Like, it's not, you didn't decide who your dad is. Like,
Right.
I can't say those things. We don't have to condone those actions, and we can say this was bad and this was horrible, and you can still reconcile that emotion that's bond you have for somebody who did horrible things.
Right. That's got to be hard. That's got to be so hard.
But then there's also the flip side, because there's also the victim, and
Right.
and
Of
then
course.
you being in those shoes, and then how is that? It's so,
How do you play
it's
devil's
so tough,
advocate?
right? It's so tough. Like, how do you do your healing without giving into the hate? Because we know it's there, like, we have to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But how do you give into the good and not the hate?
Right. That's difficult for sure. That is. It's that to me is a process that I don't know if I could. I don't know how I would deal with. You know. I don't think there's ever been a hateful bone in my body. Not even the man who murdered my father. You know. Like I said, being desensitized so young, I think I've always just had that kind of attitude that, like, if you didn't put yourself in that position, you know, and then it changed because I became the victim in a situation that I didn't have any control over. So yeah, I guess.
Just acknowledging the hurt and not bullshitting with it and being like, this shit fucked me up.
Yeah, that's why I didn't process it young. You know what I'm saying? Because as I got older, I even told you I would have never affiliated with my dad. Never. And if any of my girlfriends were dating somebody that my father was like, I wouldn't have done. I'd have been like, girl, you need to get rid of his ass now. That is a loser. My dad stole from my mom. He took the car and ran it till it had no oil and brought it back. Oh, just burnt to hell. He took our piggy banks and wiped them out just so he could get high. It's that addiction, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, God, I say this very lightly, but it is true. When you are a sexual offender, it is an addiction as well. It is a urge, you know. And when you're a drug addict, it's an addiction. It's an urge. It's something that you're looking for, you know. And I guess I just understand now what was going through people's heads when that happened. What was going through my mom's ex-husband when that happened. Life doesn't come with an instruction manual. We're all just kind of thrown in it to figure it out.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of love to say that. That's what I think. I mean, it's just tough to talk about.
It is. It has been. Like I said, I stashed it away for years, but I also... I wanted my family to know that this shit didn't just happen then. It happened again, and it happened again, you know? And I got black sheeped from the family. And just recently when my grandma passed away, everyone went out to the ranch, and my cousin Lachlan had asked, why doesn't Rachel ever come around? Why isn't Rachel ever invited? And my mom and my brother were like, well, Rachel kind of got, you know, shunned in a way back then because of all of the things that I was going through. My grandparents didn't really want to deal with it. And this hurts hard too. I found out why, because my grandpa was another very positive man in my life, and rest his soul as well. And he said, my grandma had admitted to me that he didn't know if I was lying or not about being molested, and he didn't want to be alone with me at any time. So I wasn't really allowed back every summer. We moved out here from California. We go back out every summer. And one summer after I had admitted to what had been happening and what was going on, I was no longer allowed to come out to the family house and do the summertime fun and all that great jazz. So there's another abandonment replacement.
Who would you say first taught you what love is and how?
First, let me say, love is so subjective. My idea of love and your or their or theirs is so different. What I think that love entitles, if you will, may not be what you think it is. So I don't know how to answer that question because I don't want to sound cynical, but I've always felt that love is loss of valuable energy. That's the acronym I've always had for it. Unless you're actually, benefiting emotionally from it, it's loss of valuable energy. It's not love, So I don't identify with love like that. I don't know. I don't have that. I guess, I don't know.
What's your definition of it?
Loss of valuable energy. That's how I feel. I've never really...
How do you accept love or someone's positive energy? How do you give out positive energy? How do you accept and take someone else's positive energy? What's that like?
I guess positive energy, of course, I take it with enjoyment. There's levels to love. Let me just say that now that I'm thinking about that. There's levels to it. So the first person that taught me love, it probably would be my dad, my grandma, because they weren't my family. And my dad actually kidnapped me from my mom and sent me to my grandmother's house, the one who just recently passed. And they weren't my family, but they took me in, and that was grandma and grandpa. I knew no different.
How did it feel?
The stability living at my grandma and grandpa's ranch, that was knowing that, I had a roof over my head. We weren't going to be in a hotel or in an apartment with roaches and shit. Like, it was rough growing up in California too. Like, I was happy. I guess, yeah, that's where my identification with love definitely would come from. It was being accepted. My mom always loved me, but I guess like the memories of just her and I never resonated, and it was just everyone who looked out for me. That's who showed me love. Anyone who didn't let me run around with a booger hanging out of my nose and dirty feet and nasty hair, you know what I'm saying? Like the ones that, and I even in the neighborhoods where we grew up in the ghetto, wash your feet, wash your hands, y'all need snacks. I kind of have that kind of demeanor. I'm always like, y'all need something? I think it's like a love language or something. They call it, right? A love language. I'm going to have to look more into that.
What's a good day look like for you?
No anxiety. Good day is no anxiety. Or actually, let me put that into better context. Minimal anxiety. Because it never is no anxiety. There's non-existent ever. So yeah, definitely. Through the trauma that I've dealt with, there's a smell, a light. The lights in Costco, rage. I don't know what it is. It's a trigger. I don't know why. But yeah, it's a good day would be no anxiety triggers. Nothing, minimal anxiety triggers.
How does that day feel with minimal or no anxiety? Like, describe the inner workings of that.
The minimal anxiety, I get through tasks a lot easier. I will actually get a load of laundry in the washer and in the dryer and out of it and put away, opposed to I did it, okay, that's as far as I can go. It's going to sit in the washer until I'm ready to put it in the dryer. Now I got to wash it again. So yeah, tasks are done easier. There's not so much going on in between my ears to where I can focus solely on the things I need to do, or even my, what I'm going through. The anxiety, sitting in traffic is anxious for everyone, I know that. But the anxiety in traffic, at work, believe it or not, I have the biggest fear. I have social anxiety. And people that know me are like, bullshit. But it's my extroverted self that actually is putting that down. It's hiding that social anxiety. It's how I deal with it. People will be like, come out and see, come I'm DJing or I'm doing this. And I'm like, I don't want to go. But once I'm out, I don't want to go home. You know what I mean? So I have massive social anxiety, big time.
So what's the flip side of that?
On a
So you
bad
had
day.
Yeah, bad day or challenging day, and how
Bad
you
day
get through it.
usually ends in tears, definitely. There's at least 3, 4 times, maybe 15 times that I'll hold back from tears. It's not that I'm sad. My emotions have always just come out in tears. And it's even, I watch a commercial, I'm like, did y'all see that? Oh my God, that was so sweet. I'll cry over TikTok, stupid things. So I work on a very high emotional vibration. My emotions are always just right at the forefront. And yeah, a bad day is that I like to call it the Price is Right wheel, because that's what I identify my emotions doing, is that I've spun the wheel and we're boo, 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 which one are we going to land on now? And that's just kind of what it goes, like it will, so much goes on inside at once that I have to just shut down. And that social anxiety will kick in. I just go home and hermit. Sit at home and do nothing. I don't do nothing. I read. I love to read.
How long does that last?
It just depends on the severity, depends on the trigger, to be honest with you. I just started coming out of a funky depression. I got sick with COVID during Thanksgiving of last year. And then I threw out my back. So I was just physically and emotionally not par at all. And I started coming out of that, and that was about a month. You know, I got over the sickness, and then I didn't do anything or go anywhere for about a month. I mean, I did shower, and I did keep my room tidy, but I didn't get up, do hair, I didn't get up, do makeup, I didn't get dressed, I barely left the house. So yeah. And it still happens, but it's not as severe as it was when I was younger. I actually used to choose a lot worse behavior, like going out and getting wasted, opposed to isolating. Yeah, absolutely. I put it down with cocaine and alcohol and marijuana and my sexual partners and choices in life, you know?
How did that, when you put it down with the drugs, substances, people, did that, how long did that last?
Oh, it's all temporary. It's all temporary. It was just a temporary. It's that need for that instant gratification. I feel like shit. Let's get wasted so I don't remember how I feel. Oh, cool. Let's boost that so I feel even better, and then let's stimulate that sexually, because now I've got all the things that make you happy. I shouldn't feel like shit anymore.
Yes, so pleasure, trading in joy for pleasure, maybe, right? And how long was that cycle?
See, that cycle has been back and forth. I told you that bitch Raquel. So that cycle's come out, and I've not been able to fight that dark passenger sometimes, and I've gone into it. And she's taken me down the rabbit hole so dark that I've had numerous suicide attempts, and it's been wasted or sober. So it's not just been under the influence of any substance, it's also been under the influence of my own mind that has put me in that, you know, like not being able to see right past that dark cloud. And I know how that feels. I know what that feels like when someone's like, I feel like killing myself. I'm like, let me try to pull you out of that darkness. Because it's always that one person that did it for me, that one person that said something or got me to the hospital or found me, or, you know, it even though there's been more than one attempt in my life, but those cycles they've been back and forth. And then after sobriety, I just don't go out. I don't do things anymore that would be in terms of like getting super wasted. You know, I'm in more control of myself at this point. And I think a lot of, like I said, the sobriety, going into sobriety and coming out of, I learned how to drink. And I don't say that if you have substance issues, don't go sober and then drink again. It's not the best. And my mentality, though, is that I would totally abuse alcohol. It was a shot off the bottle and a shot for a chaser, and then 6-pack of beer with a half a bottle of Hennessy or vodka. And then we're smoking weed and we're also doing cocaine. So, I was pushing the limits, and it's like even those limits being pushed coming out of all of that, out of the sobriety. I don't push those limits anymore. I don't want to be that person. I did a lot of shitty things and said stupid things and acted dumb. And again, just all under the substance of trying to find pleasure. I didn't care whose feelings I hurt to do it, to get my happiness. And I don't do that anymore.
What gives you sustained joy? Or the closest thing to it?
The closest thing to it, that's a great question. So, just knowing that I am loved and I am accepted by my people is sustained joys, that I know that I have hope. I have faith that you're going to get through it. I'm going to get through it. This isn't the worst. I already felt the worst. This isn't the worst. I've already been through all of that. Why can't I get through this? So even though I have those dark anxiety days, that sustained joy is, Also music. Music gives me joy. Oh, music, I couldn't live without it. I couldn't. I have a voice. I use it all the time. I sing. People are like, shut up. I've auditioned for the place that, the shows and whatnot. And I made a couple things with producers here in Colorado. So yeah, music, sustained joy, the acceptance of my friends and family. Not that I need that for validation to be happy or have that joy, but that they know me, I think. And the reason I say acceptance isn't because I'm like, oh, they like me. They see me. They know Rachel's been through shit. That's why she's that way. Oh, we're good with that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, okay.
What's an event that shaped you, good or bad? That's really shaped you, like a big one, whatever comes to mind.
Oh, getting in my DUI accident, that shaped me. I wrecked my car. And I hurt 2 people, and I walked out minimal. We all walked away okay, but it shouldn't have happened. And I was so ashamed. That big sigh, because I didn't want to I'm blocking those feelings to make sure that I'm not going to relive those feelings, but I can tell you that definitely, it changed a lot in my life. I became more protective of my own self. Prior to that, I didn't have a care in the world. I thought I was almost invincible in a sense, because I was, I don't know, I guess blind. Definitely blind to, I wasn't taking care of myself properly.
What about the DUI, woke you up or helped you or et cetera?
A week prior to that, I went to a Christmas party with a friend as a mutual platonic, and he and I got into a very physical altercation due to him drinking. I don't know why. I guess it's just that ghetto street life mentality. But I'm in a dress. I'm going to a Christmas party for a elite company, and I have 2 knives on me. I carried 2 flip blades with me that night. One was in my jacket. Oddly enough, that was the jacket I was wearing. And one was on me in my Spanx. And he got really, really drunk. We were at the party, and I wanted to leave. And he pushed me down outside. Long story short, we went an hour and a half and fought each other in the car, and he almost killed me. He broke my face against the dashboard. I stabbed him. to get out of the car. I jumped out of the car into the path of a police officer, thankfully. It sounds like a movie, but it's so real. And then the Raquel came out of me after that happened, and instead of taking back a step and saying, slow down, recover, and heal, because emotionally, I wasn't even willing to identify what just had happened. The only time I did was when I looked in the mirror, and that was because my whole face was broken, and I had a huge knot on my head because he had taken my face to the dashboard. And so, I mean, even in that moment that my face started bleeding and I felt that, I saw that the gray come over, I flipped into a reverse psychology on him and said, why would you do this to me? If you say you like me and you want to date and you don't want anyone to be, because it turned into a really strange twist. And that was when I was able to make my move and get out of the vehicle, because it just like took it down a notch. I noticed that I did not slow down. And then a week later, I got in the worst trouble of my life. Now, mind you, I've been in trouble, but I've never been caught. You know what I'm saying? I've never been in trouble with the law. I've done trouble things, but I've never been caught. Like, you know, I've stolen lollipops. I've stolen clothes from the store as a kid. Living on the street, too, I stole my food all the time, you know? That was things that I did. Like I say, I never got caught. As an adult, I got caught, and I was ashamed. Who do you think you are, getting in a car wasted? Who cares if you can handle it? You know, you hurt other people. And I hurt somebody else, and I hurt someone close to me. You know, it was just detrimental to my mental health that I straightened up, and I had to go sober due to probation. And I chose to go do therapy to say, finally, you know what, we're not carrying this shit with us anymore. I don't want this in my suitcase. I don't want this in my luggage. I'm straightening these filing cabinets, and we're getting rid of these bags of trash, because something's got to change. The life that I have been subjected to is repeating itself, and the only person that has control of it is me. So it's time to change.
What inspires you?
What inspires me? Art. Art inspires me. Talent inspires me. Ambition inspires me. In people. And also for myself. I love art. I love music. So, yeah. Inspirationally, yeah, that would be it. Art, talent.
What's been a humbling experience for you? Can you describe feelings in that experience?
The DUI was a humbling experience for me, because I had to face the judge, I had to get a lawyer, and I was linked in with people that had done worse under the DUI criteria, and it was guilty by association, and I felt very humbled by that. It humbled me for sure. I didn't want to be affiliated with that. That's why I did everything I needed to do to get it done and over with and completed. I did my classes, did my therapy. Oh, and in the sobriety, what I was saying is I only had to do a year once I got off of probation. I chose to do the other year and a half, almost into 2 years. I just chose to. I didn't, the first time I drank a sip of beer, I felt anxiety. Oh my God, I'm gonna get into trouble. I don't wanna, no. And then the next day when I woke up after drinking a full beer, I felt lack of energy. I realized being sober, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. And I did start taking some medication prescribed, and I did that therapeutically. And then I weaned myself off of that therapeutically, and we had gone through all of that trauma and baggage, and that was that.
What was the humbling part of being grouped with people you don't want to be grouped with, right? And
you're wearing that scarlet letter. That's what it is. The humbling feeling is that it was take it down a notch. You know, I guess I don't know, I didn't want people to look at me like some dirtbag, and I judged. I really judged on the being linked in with that. So I guess it was humbling not to be judgmental in a way, and it was very humbling to don't be so, you're not invincible. You're not, you know. You almost died. You could have killed somebody else.
So for this next question, go in your mind and think. This life event could be mental, physical, or spiritual. Can you tell us about a time in your life that you can relate with the word war?
Daily. Mentally. It's a war inside there between my ears because I'm constantly fighting that dark passenger war. Physically, when I broke my back working as an in-home caregiver, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even pass a BM without being in an excruciating pain. So that was war. Spiritually, I guess, I don't know. I mean, there's never really been a war spiritually for me. I've always been accepting of all spiritual beliefs and spirituality. So it's not a war in that aspect, but yeah, daily war in my head, for sure.
Do you ever surrender in that war? How does that look like, if you do?
Yeah, that's usually when it ends up in tears. And I break out my journal and I do a free association. And are you familiar with a free association in writing? And you can quote me if I'm wrong. I believe it is what my understanding of it is you're writing everything that's coming out of your head. There's no filter, there's no punctuation, there's nothing. It's all of the bad words, it's just a ramble of it. And that when I'm surrendering to that war and I'm at that dark point, that's why I need to get it out. And then I look at it and I'm able to, okay, this is what this is. All right, rip it up and get rid of it.
Same type of question. Go in your mind and think. This life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Can you tell us about a time in your life that you relate to the word peace?
Yeah, I worked as an in-home caregiver, and it may sound morbid, but I worked hospice. And right before someone's about to die, I think the term is called reeling. They start to see family members and talk to people or see old pets that have passed away prior to them. And the look in someone's eye, like peace, and I'm going to add to peaceful, when they see a loved one, or that, I guess that's what I would relate to mentally and spiritually. Because
how does that?
peace.
So have you seen that?
I have been in the room, yes, with multiple clients and patients, and yes, I've had a few that have been like, tell everyone to get out of here, they're being loud, and it's just them and I in the room. And so I do, of course, I go along and I say everybody needs to leave because I believe they're there. I believe that. I believe death is peaceful. I believe that is. We don't know what it is, so I haven't been there. You know, I haven't experienced it, but I think it's peaceful. I think that it's peace, and I mean, that's one way I can identify with that, and then I guess peace also. Just everyone getting along. No family drama at Easter. Oh, I don't know. It's hard because it's in what context, and is it all?
It's abstract.
Yeah, it is. It's subjective and abstract.
What's the hardest thing you've been through? How'd you get through it?
You know what? I don't know if I've faced the hardest thing that I've had to be through. I could say it's the hardest thing. Again, that's subjective as well because I don't know. Let me think about that one for a second. The hardest thing that I've been through. I don't know. Judgment. The hardest thing that I've been through. That's got to be the hardest anything anyone goes through, to be honest, and in relating to that. Judgment. You don't know what someone's going through. And that's the hardest thing, is when somebody's not understanding. And having to be that better person is how you got to get through it. And I guess what I'm trying to say, because it's very vague on what I just said, you don't know where anybody comes from. For instance, we're telling this story now, you had no idea. You could look at my Instagram, my Facebook, my TikTok, and be like, oh my gosh, she's awesome. She's so happy all the time. And I guess the hardest thing is that not judging or not being a bitch to somebody for no reason. You know, that's not the hardest thing for me, but that's hard for me to accept people that are that way. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the hardest thing for me.
What do you do to make it easier to accept others, to accept yourself?
For instance, I mean, okay, for example, a person I know just cut off all their hair, right? Their hair was really, really long. And we're all sitting around, and instead of the girl group that I was sitting with, instead of them being positive about it, they're just like, look at her hair. It looks like shit. She cut it all off. You think she'd do something with it since it's so short. And I was like, y'all are rude. Y'all are rude and nasty. I was like, watch this. So I got up and I walked over and I go, girl, do you have a real big curling iron? Real thick, like big, huge one? She's like, no, I don't. I go, it's going to save your life. I promise. Blow dry, curl your hair, fluff it up, give it body, take 2 minutes. And they're all looking at me. I go back to sitting down. They're like, why did you do that? And I said, because you know what? Why not give her advice instead of sitting over and shaming? You know, oh, my mom too. This is what's hard for me. And this is so hard for me. My mom sends me a photo of this man digging in the trash at a gas station for food. My reply to her, and I could show you the text message on my phone, did you offer the man a bag of chips and water, or did you just sit and shame him? Man's already at his lowest. He's digging in a trash can. It doesn't matter what he's gone through, what he's been through, or no matter what. I don't care. You are at your lowest if you're digging in a garbage can to feed your hunger. You're hungry. At least he's not shooting up a convenience store for a bag of chips. He dug a bag out of the trash. I would offer, my last dollar to say, here, do you need some water or some chips? Anything. So yeah, that's hard. That's my battle when it comes to the hardest thing for me. Because everything I've been through and go through, it's now here and gone.
What's the happiest moment in your life?
What was or what is?
Was, thus far.
Oh man, there's been so many. I've had so many peaks of happiness. Tons. The list goes on. I couldn't, man, that's like asking me what my favorite song is. Well, there's genres, there's,
yeah.
One of the happiest moments of my life. Man, that's hard. The reel's going. My Price is Right reel is going because that's like how my memory rolls too. Like, so I'm trying to think. Oh, that's difficult. One of the happiest moments. Oh, okay. This is one. Last year, Memorial Day weekend, I went out to a festival in the middle of the desert, and I don't know if you know who Paul Oakenfold is. He's a DJ, right? One of the older DJs heads that like put raves and things on the map, right? So I was a 90s raver kid, and I was able to dance on stage like a go-go girl, and I was fully clothed in an outfit. I wasn't like hussy go-go girl. While one of my favorite DJs played a whole 3-hour set. And it was great because he had come out, it was out in Arizona, and he had come in from Las Vegas out to the middle of the desert where this festival was. And when he came up to the stage, him and this other gentleman were talking about football, soccer. And I had said, I go, well, they almost lost, mate, but they sure as hell won, right? And he's like, yes. And he said something else to me, and his stage manager comes over, and my friend's set was done, and they said, who's Rachel? And I was all, that's me. And she's like, Paul said you could stay, but everybody else has to go as soon as he gets on set. And I'm like, who's Rachel? Oh my God, did she just say that to me? Oh, I got on stage and I danced for 3 hours. I was parched. I had to pee. I was like, I am not getting off this stage. I'll dance this pee off. I'm having an amazing time. It was one of the happiest times of my life. One of the happiest times of my life. Because it's like meeting your favorite actor. And I wasn't fangirl crazy, but I was like fangirl crazy underneath my skin. I was like, you know what? I asked my friend, I was like, do you know who this is? Yeah. He's like, yeah, it's Paul Oakenfold. I was like, no, do you know who this is? And Mark London is here too. Like, these are two of the like ultimate DJs, Ibiza, like raves. Like, I was starstruck, but I held my composure. And that was it. Yeah, so that was one of them, yes. I had to. I'm like, let's go with a recent one. That was one of the best.
What keeps you up at night?
The voice inside my head. Yeah, definitely. And it's random shit. It doesn't have to do with any trauma. It doesn't have to do with anything. And it could be just, oh my God, did I clean houses right now for occupation. So I'll take that shit home and I'll be like, oh my goodness, did I forget something there? Or did I get the blinds? So, and I'll be right about to sleep, when you're about to just drift away, and then it pops me awake. So, but yeah, it's randomness. It's the voice inside my head. Good, bad, evil, happy.
What keeps you going every day?
Myself, I don't know, man. Like I said, I've already been through all of that, and the anxiety I go through daily. It's become, I'm accustomed to it.
Has life gotten better for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my mental status has gotten better. Emotionally, I feel better. I mean, again, still I'm single and I have no kids and I'm not married. I choose not to be married. I choose not to have children, especially since I'm going to be 40 this year. I don't know if physically I could handle that or even.
Have you found yourself, as we mature, right? The goal, I think, part of maturing is, finding the joy in the little things, right?
I've always found joy in the little things. I've been without a lot. So little things, that's always been like that. As I get older, yeah, it's still there. It hasn't left me, but yeah, I feel that way. Yeah, as a kid though, the little things, pulling worms out, climbing trees, Just
Imagine you're in the hospital today with only hours to live. What would be your regrets, if any?
I don't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets. I did what I did. I said what I said. I've apologized for it if I did you wrong. I've never, ever let anybody have any question on where they stand with me in life. So if they feel like I should regret my behavior, my actions, that's on them. That's not on me. Because and if I could change anything, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change a thing. Because I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have to face those things. And I'm liking me now. I didn't used to have a good relationship with myself when I was younger. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I have no regrets.
You told me as a kid you didn't really have dreams. Do you have any dreams now?
See, I didn't have dreams as far as like goals in life. Yeah. Dreams, I've always had dreams.
Goals.
Yeah.
What are the goals?
Yeah. I honestly, I have to really think about that because, like I said, the trauma and the it was just day to day. I asked if I could learn to play the piano. I didn't get piano lessons, but my brother asked if he could get the guitar, and he got a guitar for Christmas. I wanted to play the trombone. I got the trombone, but I could only do it for one lesson, one season, in school. So I joined choir. I joined, drama and things like that. Gosh, I don't know. Say
it
it.
can be abstract. the goal can be abstract. It can be.
It was that, I guess, I mean, I've always had a desire for the arts, you know, and I am a semi-decently talented person. I'm not trying to sound arrogant or full of myself. I know I have talents, and my brother even told me, he says that if it wasn't for having to go to your choir recitals, or you always asking for an instrument, or going and seeing drama, he would have never gotten into music. He's got a band and he's getting ready to take a tour to Europe right now. So I guess I think that was what it was. I want to make art and make music and people enjoy it. I enjoy that, you know. I like going to the museum and seeing things that people have made, or hearing music. We do it every day. We watch movies, we look at art, we listen to music, clothing, everything we put on ourselves, you know. So I think that would be my goal. I don't want to be famous. Never wanted to be. Even when I was working with a producer and I was making music, we did shows. I did not want to be on stage. Even through choir, I did solos in drama. It's a character for me, but I don't want to be that forefront. I kind of want to run shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm going to go do all these things to say I've already been through that, so we can work on this. Yeah.
You're the co-author of your life story. What's your picture perfect ending? And it's not the end. It's just as if your life was a book or a movie, what's that happy ending scene look like? Like if you can envision that.
Oh goodness, you've seen Disney movies, right?
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm kidding.
That's
Right. Yeah, Disney movies. Yeah, definitely. That would be it right there. Every single princess Disney movie. Prince, Helm. No, I'm kidding. Totally not my style. My happy ending. The end of my story. Not the ending. Yeah, just the scenic end of.
Off to the sunset type stuff.
Yeah, that would probably be something like that. Fabio style on a horse on the beach. But no, it would to leave a feeling that there is hope, that there is another day, that everything we're processing. My perfect ending would to let everyone aware it's temporary. Even though substance use and I was seeking that pain that when you are sober, it's temporary. That stub on your toe, it's temporary. You can find a solution. There is a solution. There are outlets. That would be it. That would be like when they're done watching my movie, they'd be like, damn, that was profound. That's kind of how I want to leave people, you know? So my interactions with people are. So, and yeah, happiness.